What is the right size battery for your ham radio? How do you give your park number if you're doing a POTA and FT8? And how do you upload a POTA log for a twofer? This time on Mailbag Monday. What's happening, guys? Thanks for tuning in to KMRD Radio Stuff. My name is Mike. If you have an amateur radio-related question for me, shoot me an email, kmrd@icloud.com. We got 3 great questions today, all really pertaining to POTA, or portable anyway. So let's dive right in. This first question asks, I have the Bioenno 12-volt, 15-amp-hour, 180-watt-hour battery, which I use with my Yaesu 891. I usually set the single sideband output to 100 watts, but recently began wondering if the battery has enough power to support that. I think you mentioned in a recent video about needing 20 amp hours for 100 watts. Nope, sure didn't. Am I hurting the radio and or not getting the full 100-watt power output using this battery? Thanks for doing the maths and explaining what's happening and whether I need a larger capacity battery with this radio at full power. So the Bioenno BLF 1215A has, all of the Bioenno batteries have little stickers on them that'll show you what the current draw is. So like here's a little 6 amp hour battery. It's 12 amp max continuous discharge current, 12 amp max peak. So we're talking about current and we're talking about capacity, which are 2 completely different things. So here is a 10 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. Capacity. Okay, it's a smaller battery than what you have. The important thing is the current draw and how much current can it put out. So I have, this is a 30 amp BMS on here. Now these cells are actually rated at about 100 amps. You could actually pull 100 amps out of these cells. But the BMS is going to be what regulates the current. So I can pull up to 30 amps of current with this battery. Here is a 20 amp hour Bioenno with a max continuous discharge of 20 amps and 40 amps max peak. So the 891 on receive draws a solid like 1 amp of current. On transmit, the most I've seen, I think, was about 18 or so. If you're like keyed down 100 watts CW, it's less than what Yaesu actually specifies it. Your Bioenno battery is capable of handling a 30 amp continuous discharge current. So your battery is totally fine with your 891. No problem whatsoever. Now, one thing to test as far as are you getting full 100 watt power, I don't know. I would hope so. Put your meter on the power. Whistle into the mic because SSB is AM. It's amplitude modulation. So if you give it a good whistle or something into the mic or do the famous audio, one of those, you should see your power meter going up to 100. If it's not, then you might have some kind of bad connection or something like that. But the only downside of a 15 amp hour battery is if maybe you're having a heck of a time and you're out playing all day, you're just not going to have the runtime that you would with a larger battery. So that's really the only difference. But even upgrading to a 30 amp hour battery, this has a 30 amp max continuous discharge. Doesn't say what the peak is on this one, but the only thing you're gaining really is capacity until you start stepping up to like the 100, 200, 3 amp hour batteries where you're going to have more current draw and you're going to have more capacity. But I mean, shoot, you could go a couple hours 100 watt sideband easily with that 15 amp hour battery. So I don't see any reason for you to change anything unless you just got money burning a hole in your pocket and you want a new battery. So keep on keeping on and have fun playing with your radio there. So thanks for writing in. Hope that helps. Next, we have a question about everybody's favorite mode, FT8 and parks on the air. This viewer writes, I've seen your YouTube videos and would like to ask you a question about operating POTA using FT8. Today I tried my first POTA activation and I was using FT8. The problem I ran into was there seems to be a 13-character limit using FT8. Yes, there is. As such, I was not able to call CQ POTA KB6 VTU Kilo 1234, or if we're not providing the park number, how do they know what park we're activating? Any help is appreciated. So the quick answer is they don't. Sort of. There's a couple things you can do, but it's important to know that There actually is no official exchange in Parks on the Air other than your call sign and a signal report. I don't even think a signal report is required. So it's more a formality that we, especially when you're doing like park to parks, that we exchange park numbers. There's really zero reason to do that. We do not need to exchange park numbers because when we upload our log, the software is going to say, okay, I was at park X and this guy was at park Y and we worked each other and now we have park to park. So it's not necessary to exchange that POTA information. But there are a couple things you can do. So let's head over to the Parks on the Air website, and I will show you a couple things there, and hopefully this will help answer the question. So here we are, POTA.app. Obviously, first thing you need to do is log in, otherwise you can't do any spotting. So if you have internet access, the easiest thing you can do is simply click Add a Spot and spot yourself. So 14.074 Kilo 3019 is my home park, and I'll usually put some kind of stupid comment like that, and then spot yourself. And that way people know that you are at whatever park you're at, and then they can, when they work you, a lot of people will go and respot you, so this will constantly stay fresh. So when it's showing up on the cluster or in the POTA app here, people are going to see that. Now, if you don't have internet access, another thing you can do here, go to this activations tab here, and then scroll all the way to the bottom. So say I'm going to go out tomorrow. See where it says, will you be at a park later? Yeah, I sure will. So when am I going to go? And this is all in UTC. So let's just say I'm going to go out tomorrow at, I don't know, 12 o'clock, 12:30, whatever, who cares? And then end tomorrow at, I don't know, sometime later, 6, whatever, who cares, right? Guess you need to add something there. 7:30, sure. And then put your frequency. You could put, so let's say 14. And then FT8, 20, and, FT8, 20, and 40 maybe. So this way it'll show up on the scheduled thing here, the schedule page. So people can look at this and be like, oh, okay, this guy's going to be at this park between these times. So this way they know what park you're at. They might not know when or what band you're on, but they'll know to at least look for you, and that way they can hopefully hunt you and know what park they're at. Now, again, it really doesn't matter because as a hunter, say I work you and then I want to know what park you're at. Well, I can't talk to you on FT8. So maybe a couple days later, I check the log and say, okay, well, I just worked K0OTC. He was at Kilo 9389. So I can go back in my logging software and update that, because once you upload your log, that's all in there. Hunters do not upload a log, so it's kind of irrelevant. You're going to get credit and you're going to find out what park they're at anyway. So again, that exchange is just a formality. It doesn't matter. So one thing I will tell you about doing POTA and FT8, let's hop over to WSJTX really quick. When you are going from park to park, chances are you're going to leave your grid square. So it's important to go into your settings and then go under the general tab, change your grid square. So let's say I went to Echo Mike 21, hit enter. Now notice down here, it says CQK at MRD EM21. It's a good practice to go ahead and change that. And then for calling CQ POTA, I'm simply going to type CQ POTA K at MRD EM21. I'm going to hit transmit after I find a clear frequency. That's all I need. That way people know I'm doing a POTA. I'm at a grid square. I mean, people could do their due diligence and say, okay, where's Echo Mike 21? I'm just making up a number here. And then look on a map and see what park it is and cross-reference it if they really needed to know the park number right then and there. But don't overthink it. You don't need to worry about all that stuff. But thank you so much for writing in. I do hope that helps answer the question, shed some light on it. It's Parks on the Air, man. It's about as easy as it can be. They made it this way because the most important thing is to just get outside, get on the air, and have fun. That's it. Lastly, we have a question about uploading logs for twofers and threefers and all that stuff for Parks on the Air. Goes on to say he's routinely, big word, activating 2 for POTAs. And his question is, what is the correct protocol for uploading logs from parks with multiple references? He was having some issues here. So it's actually very easy if you have the right software. And that software is called Hammers. And it can be downloaded at hammers.app, Mac, Windows, Ubuntu, Raspbian. It's on the App Store. It's on the Google Play Store, on the Amazon App Store. It's freaking everywhere. If you're doing POTA, you should be logging with Hammers. And once you've downloaded Hammers, first thing you do is make a new log. So call it whatever you want to call it, okay? And give it a POTA template. All right. So let's just call this K8MRD at kilo 3019. If I can type, whatever. Okay, that's not actually how I do it, but enter your pertinent information in here. Kilo 3019, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Very simple. Just make a log, okay? Now, I'm not actually going to use that one. I'm going to use this one from 3646, okay? So I made 63 contacts at this park. Because I'm using Hammers, and Hammers was written specifically for parks on the air. That's the sole reason it exists. We can click this gear and hit duplicate. So now it says 3646 copy. Well, maybe I was at somehow 3019, so I was in Texas and Florida at the same time. And then we're going to change this my park to 3019, okay? Then I'm going to hit save. Now, let's go back here and look really quick. So now I have this log with 63 contacts and this log with 63 contacts. If we look here, this is the original one, 3646. Notice my park here is 3646. We will go, let's pick, let's go to a QSO and we'll look at edit. We'll see their park, my park. We were working each other at the end of the thing here. So my park is 3646 on this log, okay? So now if I go back to this other log that I just made because I duplicated the other log, now we can see it's already got my park at 3019. Let's go and look at under edit. There's my park at 3019. So now what we need to do is we need to export both of these ADIFs. Let's just put these on my desktop. Sure. Okay. Very, very easy. Save them both. So now they're both saved on my desktop. Now we just go to POTA.app. You go to your uploads. And then from here, I can just download, wherever the heck they are, both of these into the POTA database. Now there's both of the contacts. You're going to check these boxes, hit upload file. I'm not going to do this, obviously, because this is a demo. But that's it. Then it would have both of those logs as completely separate park entities, but the same contacts. And that's how you do it. Easy peasy. That's the awesomeness of Hammers, among many other things. So, great question. Hope that helped. Thanks for writing in. Guys, if you have questions for me, shoot me an email, k8mrd@icloud.com, and you may have one of your questions featured on an episode of Mailbag Monday. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you again on another episode of K8MRD Radio Stuff. 73, guys.